First, the girlfriend on trial for murder by stiletto.
You feel blood in your hands. That is a horror of someone you love, and that I did it.
She never testified in court, but now she's talking only to us about the secret that led to his finish.
He had a shoe fetish. He would like for me to kind of step on him.
Dressed to kill. Plus, the Craigslist con woman, promising a childless couple her baby that didn't exist, even faking the birth on the phone.
How could they not have known that this was an absolute scam?
The baby scam. And only in Hollywood. The salon owner to the stars, charged with wanting to kill the competition. Literally.
Definitely caught me off guard that my life would be in danger for doing skincare.
Tonight, designing women.
This is the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Here now, David Muir and Elizabeth Vargas.
Tonight, the sensational murder case in the national spotlight right now for nearly one reason alone. The murder weapon, a stiletto high heel, 5.5 inches high, blue suede. And the woman who used that shoe to kill her lover is talking only to ABC News.
Here's the question. Was it self-defense or was it murder? Tonight, she tells us details the jury never got to hear, but will it change your mind? Here's ABC's Ryan Smith in Houston with the woman now without those stilettos. Was she dressed to kill?
A woman accused of killing a man with her stiletto heel.
Anna Trujillo is being held here,
and testimony is still going on.
Prosecutor Sarah Mickelson demonstrated to the jury.
About 10 puncture wounds to the head.
Houston has some crazy, crazy crime, and this is one of the craziest things that I think a lot of us have ever seen.
In a town infamous for women who kill in crimes of passion.
Andrea P. Yates, guilty.
Clara L. Harris, guilty.
Susan Lucille Wright, guilty.
The proceedings in a Houston courtroom this week may have set a new standard for strangeness.
When you hear of someone dying, especially a brutal death, they're being shot, they're stabbed, but no one ever thinks there's going to be a stiletto heel in the middle of it, right?
Yes, who ever heard of assault by deadly footwear? The crime scene, a ritzy condo in this high-end high-rise, and the accused, a petite, soft-spoken mom looking at life in prison, telling her story exclusively to 2020.
It's very surreal. It feels like it happened to someone else and I'm just watching it.
Born in Mexico, Anna Trujillo came to America with dreams of making it big. Married twice, the mother of 2 young girls, she was a striking, vibrant young woman who was once the host of a community access show and called herself Anna Fox.
Thank you for joining me and enjoying ourselves.
The producer said I had a bubbly personality.
Is that who you are? That TV host with that bubbly personality?
Yes, I am, actually. I'm usually very optimistic. I love life. I love friends. And I just believe in being me.
But those big dreams jumped the track as she landed on the hard side of town. Jim Carroll met her at the Lawndale Hotel, where they both once lived.
What was she like? She laughed a lot. I mean, she was really cool. She just talked about spirituality and the pyramids and ghosts and the tarot.
She was a drifter, floating from job to job, wishing for the right things, attracted to the wrong people.
She brought several men to the hotel, and finally I started talking to her. I said, look, you know, we can't have none of that business going on here.
And how many men would you estimate this was?
4 to 6 men. One of them was the professor.
His name? Stefan Andersson, a naturalized citizen from Sweden who worked at the University of Houston as a medical researcher. Tell me about him.
Well, he was very charming. He had a beautiful young spirit. He was a professor, and that is really what attracted me.
How did he treat you in the beginning?
Oh, he was wonderful.
In the beginning, it was all so carefree. Here at the local taco shop, Bodegas, they were regulars, and his friend, Adam Benjamin, remembers the early days of their romance.
You can see Stefan right there.
So what was Stefan's taste in women?
Stefan liked attractive women in heels with nice legs, but he didn't have girlfriends or anything like that.
Why do you think he felt so connected to Anna?
She was a bad girl. It's the opposites attract.
Within weeks, she'd moved on up to his deluxe apartment in the sky. You wanted to marry him.
Yes.
He wanted to marry you.
Yes.
It wasn't all about love. It was also about sex, kinky sex. Trujillo claims her man had a thing for shoes, and she was happy to oblige.
What did he want you to do?
He had a shoe fetish. He would like for me to kind of step on him.
Step on him?
Well, walk on him. He liked a little bit of pain.
But just months after they met, that happily ever after began to wear thin.
His drinking started concerning me. I didn't know what it was to be with, I say, an alcoholic.
He drank a lot, but he didn't seem to be an angry drunk. He seemed like a troubled and gentle soul.
A troubled soul who, according to Anna, had a hidden dark side.
He was super sweet and nice, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he would just turn into this other person. He would just start accusing me of things.
Like what?
Why did you leave me? How come you didn't take me with you?
What would you do when he did this?
I would not provoke him. I would just be quiet.
Did other people know about this side of him? Did other friends see him like this?
He hid it really well.
It was a hot summer night last June when Anna and Stefan go out for a night at Club 5015. They share a bottle of wine, chased by a few shots of tequila. In this case, a combustible mix.
That place has live music on the weekends, and it gets really crowded, and it's a different crowd, and it's nice, and he liked it. He was feeling really good, and he was enjoying himself.
Anna is dressed to kill in her 5.5-inch blue velvet stilettos.
I had the huge high heels that he loved for me to wear.
It made you happy to buy the stiletto that he liked.
I had to be very careful because the shoes were so high.
Surveillance videos at the restaurant paint a portrait of a good time girl. Take a look as she flirts with a stranger at the bar, then does a sexy chair dance. At first, she and Stefan seem to be having a great night out, but by the time she is ready to leave, he is not.
I was going to leave early in the morning to go see my daughter. I wanted to leave, not stay out very long. He kept wanting to stay longer.
That decision to go home is the spark, she says, that will ignite a firestorm. Still, the last images captured at the nightclub show Stefan calm as he leaves the bar with Anna.
Was he wasted by the time you got to the cab?
Yeah.
As the cab pulls up, Rosemary Gomez was at the wheel, accompanied by her husband.
I was just taking a pill like I normally do.
As the couple approaches the cab, Reagan Cannon said Anna was loud and abusive.
She tells him, go get a cab. No.
In Anna's version of the story, it's Stefan who was getting aggressive.
You say he starts getting agitated.
I just remember him looking at me, angry.
Angry from Anna's point of view, but not from the front seat, where Reagan Cannon has some advice for the shy professor.
I said, are you a man or a mouse? Come on, dude. I said, what are you doing letting her talk to you like that?
It is past 2 in the morning when the taxi drops them off at Dr. Anderson's pad.
But you had a funny feeling that something was going to happen.
He squeezed my hand and he said, no, I'll be okay. And I told him, I said, I just have a feeling something's going to happen.
Look at these photos. Coming home from the bar, walking calmly to the elevator. It was the last time Anderson was seen alive, but Anna claims he was on the verge of a murderous rage.
All of a sudden, he just turns around and has a complete different look on him. Angry.
As the couple sets foot inside the apartment, her life was about to change irreversibly, and his about to end.
He starts to pull me. I still have my shoes on. So he grabs me by my hands. He bangs me against the wall. He kept saying that I was going to leave him. I wasn't coming back. He's screaming and yelling and ranting and just, I saw the way you were looking at those guys. When he threw me over the couch and I fell completely backwards and my head hit, I saw black.
Did you feel like your life was in danger at that point?
Yes.
In the darkness, she reaches for the only weapon she could find, one of those blue stilettos, and starts striking.
When I reach down to feel him and you feel blood in your hands, that is a horror of someone you love, and that I did it, that accidentally I did it. I didn't even know that he was bleeding. He wouldn't stop. Nothing is facing them. He's unstoppable.
Coming up, Lights 911.
He started beating me up.
Action. She called in the crime, but did she commit it?
I'm the victim. My innocence have been taken away.
Self-defense or crazy defense? When Designing Women returns. Ryan Smith continues with more of Designing Women.
Are you reporting an assault, ma'am? Yes, he assaulted me. I hit him with my shoe and he's bleeding. He started beating me up.
When Houston police received Anna Trujillo's desperate 911 call, they raced to her boyfriend's high-rise condo and walked into a slaughterhouse.
The crime scene photos in this case were especially gruesome. The blood spatter, the victim still lying there. It was a tragedy, and it was horrible.
The hallway was streaked with blood. The deceased, medical researcher Stephen Anderson, barely recognizable from more than 24 stab wounds to his head, face, and neck. All from the heel of Anna's blue velvet stilettos. Stephen's hair still stuck to the heel. And on a glass table nearby, a macabre sign. Trujillo's Book of Tarot turned to the picture of death. Instantly, the police officer was suspicious.
He just yelled at me and took his gun out and he told me to get down on the ground.
I thought they were there to help us. The millions of officers showed up and where was the ambulance?
Anna tells police Anderson had attacked her, that she killed him in self-defense. But though she was drenched in blood, police say she doesn't look injured. Police bring her in for questioning, and Anna gives a rambling, disjointed statement that includes little about the actual killing.
It's a meandering sort of my life up till now 3-hour tape in which she talks about what actually happened the night of, very briefly.
The cops have heard enough. They put her under arrest.
You said you were such a fool. Why?
They're blaming me. They're telling me that I killed him. I am not a murderer.
She's booked, post bail, and is put under house arrest. But as the countdown to trial begins, Houston was riveted.
The murder weapon is a 5.5-inch heel.
Stabbing her boyfriend to death with
And it was a bloody scene.
Each day, new allegations surfaced about the violence in her past. Brian Goodney, a former friend, remembers a startling attack.
Walk her to the door, turn around to open the door, and get hit on the back of the head with a candlestick.
That was the last thing you remembered.
She knocked me out.
And remember the Lawndale Hotel where her friend Jim Carroll once lived? He told the most jaw-dropping tale of all.
She told me that if anybody ever messed with her, she pulled her shoe off. She says, I'll get them with this. And it was a big stiletto heel.
The trial began last week in a burst of lights, camera, and bravado.
Unconfident?
Do I look like I'm scared?
From the beginning, prosecutors pull no punches, focusing the jury on that killer heel, really the star witness in this case. Over and over, they demonstrate the brutality of the crime.
In trial, we saw an x-ray of the shoe. To the naked eye, it just looks like a cobalt blue stiletto high heel. But once you saw that x-ray, it looked like an ice hammer.
He had 10 puncture wounds on his head, 15 to 20 around his neck, face, and arms. That is excessive for a lot of people.
Excessive, what he was doing to me? He was enraged. He hit me on the head with my own shoe.
Even though his case is far from a slam dunk, Anna's attorney, Jack Carroll, still seemed confident.
Was Anna justified in her actions that night? What the evidence says. Whether she hit him once, hit him 25 times or 100 times, if she felt her life was in danger, the jury can't convict.
To prove the case, Carroll had to convince the jury that Anderson flew into a violent rage at his apartment. These photos of Anna, taken 48 hours after the murder, show bruises, but it wasn't clear how or when she got them.
The defense wanted to portray her as a victim and as someone who only did this because she had to.
Remember that surveillance video from the apartment? The last images of Anderson alive? He seems calm and collected, but his blood alcohol is almost twice the legal limit.
I think we've all seen people that drink a lot and, act one way in public and they go home and they act a different way. Anna was alone in Stefan Anderson's apartment and he went off the deep end.
Did the mild-mannered professor attack his girlfriend in a drunken, jealous rage?
She talked about being smothered at one point and then he was grabbing her. That's when she started hitting him with the shoe.
But it's the murder weapon itself, that $29 stiletto shoe, that could come to Anna's rescue.
It's not a gun. It's not a knife. It's not the typical thing someone would use to kill someone. So that could help the defense in saying she just grabbed whatever she could.
With the evidence mounting against her, Anna is thinking about taking the stand.
Are you confident enough that the confession that I did on tape is enough?
If I put you on the stand, then they can go ahead and, ask you about certain things in your life that may have happened.
But at the last minute, she decides it's too risky. And with her fate hanging in the balance, Anna prepares her daughter, Sienna, for the possibility that she may be heading to prison.
We have to be prepared for what's to come. They might have a conviction. I just want to tell you that I love you very much.
It's gonna be fine. You'll worry too.
On the morning of April 6th, the sun rose over a perfect spring day in Houston. Closing arguments in the Trujillo case were about to begin.
It won't be until your just verdict that she ceases to be the stiletto stabber, and she will then forever be Anna Trujillo, murderer.
But the defense argued that she was fighting for her life.
As long as she reasonably fears the threat of serious bodily injury or death, she's justified.
After less than 2 hours of deliberation, the verdict was swift and unequivocal.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Anna Trujillo, guilty of murder as charged in the indictment.
She is now a convicted murderer, sentenced just this afternoon to life in prison. And though that shoe may fit, she still refuses to wear it.
We all have opinions of what we would or wouldn't do, or why, or how. But when you find yourself in a situation, you don't know either, because it's that situation.
You don't know what you're going to do when that happens.
You think you do, but you don't.
In spite of all of that, you loved him.
I love him, and I'm mourning, and I'm in sad, and I'm in pain, and I have no closure. And it's not my fault.
So, after seeing the evidence for yourself, was it self-defense or was it murder by stiletto? We're live tweeting throughout tonight's program, so let us know using the hashtag ABC2020.
And when we come back here tonight, we couldn't believe this one. When getting a facial can turn deadly for the person trying to make you look younger. You gotta see this.
Coming up, a real designing woman, making Hollywood faces look great. But when competition set up shop across the street, did she have a plan to take care of business?
When you use the phrase take care of, I have a feeling it doesn't mean to get a nice facial.
Skin deep and deadly when Designing Women returns. Designing Women continues. Now Chris Connolly with If Looks Could Kill.
Before life as an upscale facialist, Dawn DeLuise, no, not Dom DeLuise, Dawn DeLuise, left the sleepy Florida bayou in hopes of becoming an LA model, nylon and lacing it coquettishly for Fredericks of Hollywood's way risque lingerie catalog, semi-undressed for success. But rather than trying to live on her looks, she studied accounting and figured she ought to live on the looks of others. As an esthetician, she developed a client list alleged to include Jennifer Aniston and Nicki Minaj. Only now she's sporting the latest in jail wear. No one ever said blue is the new black. The 55-year-old DeLuise was now world famous. The elite esthetician arraigned on solicitation of murder charges, facing a possible 9 years in prison. Talk about losing face.
I'm not real familiar with what a facial is, but I imagine it has to do with somehow making your face better. I don't know.
In West Hollywood, by order of the city council, it is illegal to declaw a cat. But what you do to your own body is your business. and theirs.
The beauty industry is extremely competitive.
For cosmetic surgery, for hairstyling, for skincare, for a mani, a pedi, or a Brazilian, celebrities are willing to pay through the nose, and the battle for them is fierce. Ask the man who cut Madonna's hair, and Pamela Anderson's, and John Bon Jovi's.
I open my salon here, you open across the street, you have violated me in a very, very serious way. I would walk across the street and I would say, listen, are you, excuse my French, but are you out of your mind?
Yet law enforcement doesn't get much esthetician on esthetician crime. So when the proprietress of Skin Refinery appears to be at the center of an alleged plot to whack the guy next door, Gabriel Suarez, who runs Smooth Cheeks, it's unusual.
It almost seems surreal.
How surreal? LA County Sheriff's Department is still peeling the mask.
In 18 years, you've never seen anything like this?
No. It starts out with an alleged victim who turns out to be a suspect victim.
And then a witness who, in your mind, turns out to be...
Suspect.
It was a friend of his who asked Detective McCauley if he'd speak to DeLuise, who'd been operating Skin Refinery at this address for years. Among her offerings was something called a galvanic facial, a favorite of her then friend and client, Edward Feinstein.
They put a mask over your face. It's a little bit of a Hannibal Lecter mask. If you saw it, it's a little overwhelming.
Over the years, DeLuise and her business had been talked up in a few glossy magazine beauty roundups and in the tabloids.
Dawn had a public spat with Nicki Minaj. It was all over the news.
When Detective McCauley phoned her, DeLuise said her tires had been slashed recently and that she was being cyber-stalked, harassed online.
There had been Craigslist ads that were posted, solicitations for sexual encounter that listed her address and her phone number.
And did she have any idea who might be responsible?
She believed it was Gabriel Suarez.
Did she feel like he was a competitor and therefore this was why she felt he might be doing such things?
Yes.
It's kind of crazy.
His response was, in general, I don't know her. He came off as very credible to me.
DeLuise seemed aghast that Suarez had moved his business practically next door, even though Suarez had Smooth Cheeks focused on a different end of the skincare game.
I like the name Cheeks because I do a lot of waxing too, and it's kind of double entendre. It has cheeks and, cheeks.
DeLuise thought Feinstein would back her with the cops, but with a prior conviction for identity theft, Feinstein flipped, telling them the cyberstalking was actually DeLuise's plan to frame Suarez.
She wanted me to pretend to be Gabriel, send her fake texts, post Craigslist ads. She wanted it to seem like she was being stalked, so she could say it was Gabriel.
She asked you to do all these things?
Yes.
He provided me with texts that seemed to indicate that Miss DeLuise had asked him to lie to me.
Dawn, lying to these damn cops to get them to step up. I'm going to tell them Gabriel was in my apartment last night and is now threatening me with bodily harm. But it was another one of Feinstein's texts that would get Dawn DeLuise on page 1 and TMZ and give new meaning to the phrase, if looks could kill. Dawn, I found someone who is going to take Gabriel out. His name is Chris Guiley, and he's an ex-Detroit Lion quarterback. He's on my Facebook page. These photos from a bar in nearby Big Bear suggest that Guiley friended DeLuise on more than just Facebook. But DeLuise's apparent text led cops to get proactive on the facialist.
Miss DeLuise was actively seeking somebody to take care of Gabriel.
When you use the phrase take care of, I have a feeling it doesn't mean to get a nice facial.
Probably not.
The conclusion was that she had solicited a murder of Gabriel Suarez.
Definitely caught me off guard that my life would be in danger for doing skincare.
So the esthetician who had told police she was being cyberstalked found herself going from facial to disgraceful in less than a month's time, arrested on March 5th and charged with solicitation of murder.
Not guilty plea is in it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Chris Guiley hasn't been charged with anything. In a sit-down with KABC, he denied being Dawn's hitman of choice.
I was just totally astonished. There was no services to engage.
At this point, he is more of a witness then he is a suspect.
Edward Feinstein was not so lucky. On March 12th, Feinstein planned to sit down with 2020. While we waited, police came to his home to arrest him. We caught up with him a week later, after his release.
I'm the one that originally told the police when they contacted me about Don's ruse. So for me to be named a suspect was just mind-boggling to me.
Police had decided DeLuise had been maliciously stalked by Feinstein. DeLuise's attorney Philip Dubé is confident the case against her will be dismissed.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
For now, the case lies in the mountain of evidence, 220 gigs worth, on Detective McCauley's DeLuise hard drive.
Do you feel confident at this point in your investigation that you know who did what to whom?
No.
I'm so relieved to hear you say that. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen.
It is.
The only ones not laughing are Gabriel Suarez, still trying to imagine why someone might want him exfoliated permanently, and Dawn DeLuise, still sitting in stir after a competitor got under her skin.
Coming up, the designing woman who scammed a childless couple. She had the baby bump, the labor pains, even the baby pictures. What she didn't have was a baby.
It was all a lie.
It was all a lie.
When Designing Women returns.
Now a couple unable to conceive who would do almost anything to get a baby. And the designing woman who preyed on their desperation. Rena Ninan has the baby scam.
Even before they got married, Mark and Tracy Jakinski, living in a kid-friendly community outside of Chicago, talked about having children.
Can't wait to have a little girl and put her in the sundresses and fix her hair.
But Tracy was unable to conceive, and going through adoption agencies can be an ordeal.
It takes so long and it's so expensive.
So the Jakinskis decided to write a heartfelt ad on Craigslist.
We want a child more than anything in the world. We are not rich, but we can give that child anything or everything they may need.
It's a growing trend, wannabe parents going online to adopt a child. Legal? Yes. Guaranteed? No. Finally, the Jakinskis get the answer they've been waiting for from a pregnant mom almost 1,000 miles away in North Carolina.
She knew that she couldn't take care of this baby.
Heather Taylor lives in this trailer and is struggling to make ends meet. She's willing to give Mark and Tracy her baby. So it's time to go shopping.
We got a few of the items and all the equipment and whatever else the baby needed here.
The local Babies R Us wasn't the only place the Jakinskis were dropping cash.
Naturally, during the pregnancy, there were some financial expenses that she said she needed money for.
And we didn't hesitate. I mean, you know, we want to keep her healthy. She's carrying our adopted baby.
Weeks later, Heather unexpectedly goes into labor. Tracy is actually on the phone as Heather rushes to the hospital.
She's having a C-section, and I'm on the phone with her in the delivery room. I mean, you could hear, like, the heart rate and everything. And then a couple minutes later, there was a baby crying. Oh my gosh, Tracy, it's a girl. I love Mommy. Is that the one that says, Daddy loves me? Yeah, Daddy's sweetheart.
Did you give the baby a name?
We did. Anna Rosemary.
Anna Rosemary.
Yeah.
Heather now says she needs more money for Anna Rosemary's expenses. The total tab now around $1,500.
Diapers, formula.
I said, as long as it's for the baby,
yeah,
I don't have a problem
we
with it.
Don't hesitate.
And then Heather sends you this.
Yeah, that's when we pretty much lost it. We're just in awe, you know, we're just, oh my gosh, this is real. That's our baby. Love the wrinkles on the back.
Now they're just anxiously waiting for Heather to come from North Carolina to Chicago to drop off little Anna. But where was she?
Oh, it's one thing after another. Her brother was in a car accident. She missed her plane.
The baby had breathing problems. She didn't want to fly. She wanted to drive.
Then Heather drops a bombshell.
She's changed her mind that her mom was going to help out, that she would be able to afford to keep our Anna.
Devastated and now suspicious, Tracy goes back to Craigslist and contacts other couples, wondering, is this a scam? Sure enough, she hears from a woman named Nicole, who says Heather was giving birth to her baby too.
I lost it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this isn't real.
No, it wasn't real. The pregnancy, the sounds of a newborn crying in the hospital room, those photos, all part of an elaborate and heartless scheme. There was never a baby.
And it was all a lie.
It was all a lie.
Detective David Flynn from the Pitt County Sheriff's Department says Nicole, the North Carolina victim, got these photos as proof of Heather's fake pregnancy.
So she's pretending here to be pregnant.
That's correct. I'm not sure what she used to make her belly bigger.
Nicole declined our request for an interview, but she did tell our affiliate how far Heather took the con job.
She was faking contraction, and she would keep going with it. She'd say, well, now how long was this one? How long was that one?
So who is Heather really? Well, she's no stranger to the law, arrested for writing bad checks and identity theft.
Speaking with Heather Taylor's family, she's had a long history of making up stories.
And we told her, so if you can start paying us back every month some of the money, I won't press charges.
But just like the baby, the refund was never delivered.
I said, you're full of it, we're done. I said, you'll be hearing from the detective.
How could these couples not have known?
Heather was very convincing in her story. She provided a lot of specific details that lend a lot of credence to the lie.
Why was she doing this elaborate hoax?
It feels like she wanted to live a different life or maybe enjoy the fantasy and the attention.
And attention she got.
Authorities say the suspect solicited people on Craigslist claiming to be pregnant and needing money.
She was arrested and charged with a felony.
She was given 36 months supervised probation, and she had to seek mental treatment.
She was also ordered to pay restitution.
I guess it really isn't even the money that hurts the most.
The emotional toll that this took on them, you really can't repay them for that.
How could you be so cruel and mean and deceitful to do this to somebody? I was just heartbroken.
It's like the baby died almost, or
right.
Were you mourning?
Oh gosh, for months. Our little Anna would be a year old.
Despite their awful experience, the Jakinskis haven't abandoned their dream of parenthood. Soon, they hope to start fostering to eventually adopt a child.
And you believe in your heart it's definitely going to happen?
Yes, there's no doubt in my mind. That baby's going to have nothing but the best.
We wish that couple well, but let us know on Twitter, do you think adopting on Craigslist or anywhere online should be legal in the first place? Tweet me, use the hashtag ABC2020, and Elizabeth and I will be right back.
Coming up, an ex-stripper with a taste for sugar daddies. Did she go gold digging with a hammer to the head?
This is the Addams Family. This is stranger than Jodi Arias.
When Designing Women returns. As Designing Women continues, Jim Avila and the case of a crushing blow.
Phoenix, Arizona, the Valley of the Sun, where hot asphalt bakes human tempers, delivering simmering trials and raven-haired killers. Jodi Arias, and now this one, Marissa DeVoe.
We thought coming into this trial that it was going to be the next Jodi Arias trial, but this is the Addams Family. This is stranger than Jodi Arias.
Are these the hands of a murderess? Is this the face of a killer? Or is 36-year-old Marissa a victim, so battered by an abusive husband that she bludgeoned 38-year-old Dale Harrell to death with multiple blows to his head?
The 36-year-old Gilbert woman claimed she was a victim of abuse, but the prosecution is telling a different story.
Marissa DeVoe could face the death penalty.
Killer or victim? The puzzle that has stumped Phoenix, Arizona since January of 2009. From the beginning, just hours after the bloody attack that splattered the couple's master bedroom from floor to ceiling, Marissa DeVoe tells a story of constant abuse, verbal and physical.
How did he hit you? With his fist. Okay, and where was he hitting on your body? On my temple.
And he just kept hitting me constantly.
Marissa even stands to show police how she says her husband of 15 years raped her on the night of the attack, choking her before forcing her on the bed against her will.
So you came home, you want to have sex, did you got mad? You wake up, he's raping you. Hands around your neck. He likes that. He likes it because he can hold right here.
At times, crying at appropriate times, seeming completely distraught, and yet at other times, she was smiling in an uncomfortable way that a seasoned detective would probably look at and at the very least find odd.
For police, it was an odd story and an odd victim. Dale and Marissa had met as teens in their hometown of Lake Havasu, Arizona, a party town known for outrageous spring breaks. They met up again years later in their 20s in Phoenix. By then, Marissa had a baby. She was a stripper, and according to her former friend and nanny, Amy Dewey, an opportunistic Marissa saw Dale as a catch.
What was the attraction?
I think that she saw a man who had just graduated from refrigeration school and had the potential to make money. It was always about the money.
Amy lived with Marissa and Dale for a time in Phoenix before their marriage.
Was there any sense that Dale was violent in any way?
No. She would come home and try to pick a fight with him or try to provoke him, and he would just tell her, I'm not going to fight with you. I love you. Let's work this out.
Then came the day Amy was fired after a chilling conversation. If true, it would foreshadow a future grisly murder.
She came to me and said, Dale is dreaming about having sex with you. I don't think that's appropriate. I'm concerned for your safety. Dale is dreaming about killing you with a hammer. You have to go.
Fast forward to one New Year's Eve. Dale in his bedroom critically wounded by, yes, a hammer.
My husband was trying to hurt me, trying to strangle me.
In the interrogation room, Marissa plays the battered woman card. But police do not buy her sob story, and prosecutors don't think a jury will either.
Opening statements today in the case of a woman accused of killing her own husband.
The real motive for that tool-time thrashing, they say, was a big fat payday.
Marissa's a woman who likes money. But more than that, she likes easy money.
Prosecutors show the crime scene in vivid detail, displaying Dale's deadly injuries. Arizona Republic writer Michael Kiefer is in the courtroom.
You know, she put a fist-sized hole in the side of his skull.
Then the prosecution begins to reveal a secret life that Marissa never spoke of. A past that includes working that pole at a strip club.
The risky behavior, the boyfriend, the stripping. You get a picture of someone who doesn't have rules.
Living on the edge.
Yeah.
One of those lovers, Alan Flores, loaded with cash. They met on a website for rich men called SeekingArrangement.com, the so-called elite sugar daddy dating website.
So you began having sex the first day you met?
Correct. In return, he loans her more than $300,000, keeping meticulous track of every dime.
To hear him tell it, she's going to pay it back any day now. This insurance money's going to come through. Don't worry about it.
There it is. What prosecutors believe is the real motive for the murder. A big life insurance policy on Dale, earmarked